Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. I am Rayu Goes Rar, and here we are joined by both Chuckdoodle and soon JoshSc2. Now, we're just going to be conducting a small little interview with these two players before we move on. Due to a couple of issues, I am going to be typing out the questions and reading them, both my questions to Chuck and Chuck's responses. So it is going to be a bit of a back and forth conversation. However, we will have Josh able to talk with us here. I'm just going to quickly say hello to Chuck, who's here. Hello, Chuck. How are you doing? Chuck says he's doing great. Awesome stuff. How are you feeling in this tournament so far? Josh also will soon be joining us. Chuckdoodle saying, I didn't get to prep, so he's very nervous. How do you think this match is going to look versus Josh? But he does say he is determined to get at least top 4. Chuck, a very honest player, and one of the legendary Zoomers in AllThingsTerran. Funny guy. And I think here we are joined by JoshSc2, the leader of Easy Dunk, the infamous community Ape King. Josh, how are you?
Hello, friends.
What's going on, buddy?
I'm fantastic.
Chuck saying tough, he played many customs with Josh, and he thinks Josh has a really high win rate over him. Josh, what's your take on this?
I mean, I think that's true, but we haven't played in a very long time, and I haven't been playing in general in a very long time. So,
not to mention, Chuck does say he has been stream sniping you on ladder, and
this is true, and he got dunked.
He did get dunked. Okay, good stuff, good stuff. Now, gentlemen, going into this match, who do you think takes it? And what's the score?
Well, you know, it's anyone's game.
Chuck!
But it's always a win for Easy Dunk. That's what I gotta say.
Wow, Chuck actually replied with a capital me, saying 3-0, hitting you with a confidence emoji. What are you gonna say to that, Josh? Also, make sure to type out your response if you can.
I would expect nothing less from one of my Easy Dunk members.
Chuck also responding with, in reality, it's probably going to be Josh or me 3-2. Very humble response. Very humble response, Chuck. Now, boys, tell me, how was it getting to the round of 8 here? Was it easy or was it tough?
It was wild.
Wild,
I think you know, my TVP was pretty rough. Anyone who saw that, it was pretty disastrous. But my, I guess, whatever you call the second match to get out, I felt pretty confident in.
Right. We did see you quite handedly took out Gang Train, and Chuck telling us here he did have a hard time as well in his group. However, he does say Lanzer and Lock gave him a hard time, so he had to prep really well. And we do see Chuck in group stages was more successful than you, Josh. However, both of you did play pretty dominant TVTs. So I'm thinking to myself, based on your two styles, I think we're going to have a real big clash here. You know, well, you playing an early game style, and Chuck with the late game style.
I just hope we can show some good games for the fans.
Good games for the fans. I like that answer. And Chuck, what are you thinking? Sorry everyone for the awkward interview. Chuck possibly typing out what he thinks is going to happen.
Chuck possibly not thinking at all.
If I hold Josh's aggression, I may have a chance at winning. Okay, fair answers, fair answers.
Big if.
Okay, so let's go on to map choices. If we look at the bracket here, I see right now that Chuckdoodle is the higher seed. So Chuck will have map pick first. Chuck what is the first map? And you guys are playing with the 4th map pool here, so that is Kairos Junction, Moonlight Madness, Cactus Valley, plus 2 other maps. So the first map Chuck says is going to be Kairos Junction, okay, plus Kairos. And Josh, what map would you like second?
Let's go with Moonlight Madness.
Josh picks plus Moonlight Madness, which means the third map will be Cactus Valley. Now, Josh, what is your custom map for this tournament?
Do I have to pick that now?
Yes.
Oh shit. Ask Chuck first. Let me look at the maps.
You do have to pick your custom map now.
Good. I'm picking it. I'm picking it.
Okay.
What are we gonna do here?
Chuck actually does say his map choice is Darkness Sanctuary. So plus Darkness Sanctuary. Alright, so that's 2 4-player maps back to back. Josh, what will be the closing map for you?
Let's do... Fuck it, let's do Odyssey. Plus
Odyssey as the third, or as the final map here, coming out from Josh. Now Josh, what is your preferred server?
I guess West or Central?
West or Central, okay, and we're just gonna be checking with Chuck here to see what his preferred server is. Chuck says he has no preference. Does West work? Okay, so we will be playing on Western. Alright, we are going to load up into Kairos Junction. Any final words? Any final words, you two?
Team kills are always a tragedy, but let's show some good games.
Well said, well said. And now waiting for Chuck's response here. So far, I'm already seeing the future of an interview with Chuck, and I don't know if I want to interview Chuck anymore. Yeah, Chuck will reply, however, with, yeah, let's show some great games. All right, and thank you both, Chuck and Josh.
No problem, brother.
We'll be seeing you guys in game. Dunk for dunk, best of luck to both of you.
Easy for easy.
Let's go.
All right, we'll see you in game. And that's Josh, and that's Chuckdoodle. We are going to be loading onto map number 1 on Kairos Junction, however. We're going to check with our players right away if they're ready. Players, are you ready? Chuck will say thank you. Chuck is ready. Josh is ready. Let's get started. Here we have, in the 4th match of the round of 8, we have ChuckdoodleTerran versus JoshSc2, another Terran. We're loading into Kairos Junction, map 1 for this best of 5 TBT. Alright. And spawning in the top left, a member of Clan Easy Dunk. It is the blue Terran player. It is Chuckdoodle. And spawning in the bottom right, it is the pink Terran, the community legend. It is Easy Dunks, JoshSc2. And Josh already starting the game out with a proxy SCV. Chuck opening gas first here. He's going to throw down that gas at 15. Josh not throwing a gas down just yet, as his second SCV will be following it up here. It looks like we're going to be beginning this game with a 2-Rax Reaper build coming out from Josh. Will we see the third SCV following it up? No. We will, however, be seeing the first gas taken, as Josh is going to be opting for a 15-15. Second gas should be coming down. Sorry, second barracks. As Chuck throws down his second gas. Josh still waiting on that second barracks. There we have it. Second barracks is thrown down. We are going to be seeing a 2-Rax Reaper out from Josh. Chuck opening with double gas. We will be seeing a second gas soon coming out from Josh here. Any second now. Josh does cancel an SCV, only to remake it. Okay. Josh will be throwing down the second depot, actually. Is this perhaps not the 2-Rax Reaper, but instead we see a lift up on the barracks. I don't think this is going to be a 2-Rax Reaper, but instead the signature JoshSc2 build, the proxy 2-Rax Marauder, as he lands barracks number 1 into Chuckdoodle's main with the tech lab. Chuck beginning his factory right away. Josh finally starting a second barracks and tech lab here. Chuck, he is going to SCV scout. He is going to know something is up. He sees one gas, second gas just now starting, and a missing thing. Chuck will scout the main, and he does in fact see that this is Proxy Marauder. Chuck is going to pull some SCVs here, and I'm not quite sure what Chuck's strategy is, but he is going to injure these barracks. Chuck perhaps needing to start a bunker. He will start one after this factory here. Oh, no, the SCV just got trapped here. Okay. The first Marauder does come out here, as Chuck is going to focus down the Marauder and quickly escape as the Marauder is caught between these two barracks. Josh already in a pretty good spot, as the Marauder, however, is cut to half HP. Chuck's Reaper on one shot, though. Josh will take out this first Marauder, or first Reaper, as Chuck takes out the first Marauder. And Josh, gonna have two Marauders here against the single Reaper and single Hellion of Chuck. Chuck pulling more SCVs now as he starts another bunker. A bunker does come down here from Josh, but Chuck is losing a significant amount of his workers. And finally, Reaper Hellion is going to be started as a third Marauder, pops for Josh. Chuck struggling a little bit here in the defense of this build, as Josh is going to be taking out the bunker SCV and that first Hellion, possibly. Hellion does manage to get away. Josh going back in as he loses a Reaper and takes out a Marine. Chuck gonna be losing this little mine here, and I think Chuck has this game in the bag here as he's gonna take out the Marine. The bunker is complete, but there's nothing to go in it, as 6 Marauders are now on the field, and Chuck types out GG, and Josh is gonna take game number 1 in this best of 5. Interesting stuff here. Alright, we are now gonna be going on to game number 2 on Moonlight Madness. Josh already beginning with one of his favorite builds of all time in this series. Will he pull it out again, though? That remains to be seen. Now asking both players if they are ready. Chuck will type ready. Josh will type ready also. Josh showing why he has earned the title Chimp King and Master of the Jungle, as he throws a banana in the direction of Chuck and then proceeds to maul him. Both players now typing out the respective poop champs as we load on to game number 2 in this best of 5. Leading 1-0 is JoshSc2. Spawning here though, in the top right, the blue Terran player representing Easy Dunk. Down a game, or down a map, it is Chuckdoodle. And in the bottom left, leading 1-0 is the pink Terran player, it is JoshSc2. And Josh, not yet sending out an SCV, opening pretty standard here. So far, is gonna be playing standard so far. He may be doing a starport expand. Chuck will be going gas first again here. Josh, on the other hand, opting to do the racks first variation, as no gas has been thrown down just yet. Josh will next be throwing down his barracks here, following it up with a gas. Chuck also throwing down his barracks right about now. Chuck will have the advantage in the amount of gas he has mined, which means a significant tech lead. However, with this opening, Josh will have a much faster economy going on, as Josh sends out a 17 SCV scout. Chuck not opting to do an SCV scout just yet, as he throws down his second gas. I stand corrected here, as Chuck will throw out an 18 SCV scout, a slightly later SCV scout, but still a pretty significant one. Chuck's SCV will be arriving to the base of Josh's later, but they will both see some pretty stock standard stuff coming out of both of them. Josh will right away start his Reaper, and he will be taking the forward expansion as opposed to the back base expansion here. And Chuck, he will be throwing down a factory after this Reaper. Chuck will see the command center here, or maybe not. Chuck not deciding to stick around to see a command center, as he will just leave immediately. Josh sending his SCV actually to the corner of the map here. Is he planning to do something with this? Only time will tell, as Josh is now scouting for possibly a proxy. Or maybe he is going to be doing a proxy himself. We certainly won't know for a while. as a Marine is finally started for Josh as well as his factory. Chuck opting to go for a second Reaper here, as well as a gas pole, only 2 and 2 here. Chuck will not be getting that 225 command center. He will also be going for the forward expansion, it looks like, as Chuck finds the Reaper Marine here. No bunker has been thrown down for JoshSc2, as he does decide to actually go for a third naked Marine here. Chuckdoodle will be starting his command center a little bit later than normal, but not too late. Chuckdoodle will be cutting at 2 Reapers and a Hellion as he throws down a starport here. Chuck will also be following it up with a tech lab on the factory and a reactor on the barracks. Josh is beginning to build a proxied starport though on the other side of the map here, as Chuck is going to poke back into the natural, seeing no bunker. Chuck will, however, see a higher amount of Marines here, as he already begins to win this micro battle pretty early on here, and Josh, he loses the 3 Marines and Reaper, and now Chuck, with a small little lead here, will be taking out a couple SCVs. This will already close the lead that Josh has from his opening, as Chuck manages to pick up 1 more worker and get out with this Hellion. Chuck will be rallying an SCV across the map here, as Josh will be bringing a third SCV out on the map, sorry, a second SCV out on the map, as he starts up a fusion core. Josh throwing down a second starport. Is this going to be the 2 starport battlecruiser rush that we saw in Maru versus Innovation? Chuck right away making a siege tank here. He is not at all prepared for this build, as Josh is going to be catching Chuck with his pants down when this build hit comes out. But wait, Chuck going with the fast medevac here. He's going to be sending out a medevac right away here. And does Josh see this? The entirety of this build is actually caught on the minimap, as Josh does have this sensor tower here, but Chuck, like, just based on the reactions here, is Josh ready for this? The answer does appear to be yes. Chuck will be flying out here to the platform on this map, and he will be dropping the siege tank here, sieging it on the high ground ramp of Josh as he unloads the Marines and takes out one of the gases. First battlecruiser is starting, a second siege tank and a reactor after this Viking is starting here for Chuck. Chuck is going to need a lot more than a single Viking and some Marines if he wants to hold this BC off. The first gas of Josh has been taken down. This is going to make it a lot easier to hold this build off, as the second battlecruiser isn't started just yet. However, a Viking was started and cancelled. Chuck's still making more Marine tank here, as he actually lifts off the barracks here to make a tech lab. And what could Chuck be thinking with his build? A Liberator is started from the second starport of Josh, as he's not able to afford that BC only on 1 gas. Josh does, however, take the 2 gases at his natural, as Chuck continues to contain him and poke in with his units. Chuck does see that there is a missing starport here, so Chuck has to be alerted that something is going on here. But Chuck, does he know what it is? As the first battlecruiser is going to fly in, and without a Raven, Chuck doesn't have a reliable way to hold off this battlecruiser. First battlecruiser is now flying into the natural. Chuck is in for a rude awakening as he sees the battlecruiser. Chuck still harassing the main base here of Josh though. He will see this battlecruiser and he will begin to move towards it. These 3 tanks proving to be utterly useless, as Josh drops a mule, which is quickly actually picked off by the siege tanks here. Josh, will he be able to get this Viking with correct micro? Chuck can kill the battlecruiser without losing that, but he needs to get that missile turret up. Chuck, is he watching? No, he is not. Yes, he is. He's going to repair the missile turret here, and this first BC is going to be going down here. A huge loss for Josh, as this Liberator is going to find itself 5 kills before going down, not before this second BC arrives, and there are 3 tanks on the other side of the map. Josh is pulling all of his workers here, as Chuck is going to be able to destroy the mineral line of Josh. And he is going to send this medevac a Marine to join this tank here. And he's going to do some little drop micro here as this battlecruiser tries to take out the command center. 2 Liberators being produced right now from Josh, but Chuck is sending all of his units across the map. And Chuck, it looks like he's trying to win it with this push here. Behind this, Chuck is adding extra missile turrets in the main base and making extra Vikings to deal with this battlecruiser. Another Viking does come out. He is going to try and kite it as more Marines, tanks, and Vikings stream across the map. And Josh will call GG as Chuck ties up the series 1-1. Impressive decision making from Chuck and a pretty interesting game number 2. Interesting strategies from both players here. Chuck asking for a BRB real quick. We are going to quickly find our third map here, which I believe is Cactus Valley. We're going to type out the maps real quick here. We have Cactus, Darkness, Odyssey. We're going to be loading up onto our first 4-player map of the tournament. It will be Cactus Valley. We're going to wait for Chuck to return, but in the meantime, I don't know, we're just going to kind of chill here. Alright, Chuck is back. We're going to be opening up our map number 3 in this best of 5 series between Chuckdoodle and JoshSc2. Chuck is ready. Josh is ready also. We're going to be loading into map number 3, Cactus Valley. The series is tied 1-1 right now. Josh winning that first game, Chuck winning the second. Going back to a HOTS Classic, a 4-player map in this series. Chuck intelligently did pick another 4-player map in this series, and for Josh, a player who does like to proxy quite often, this is going to be hard for him to get away with those strategies. Spawning in the top right of Cactus Valley, it is the pink Terran player representing Easy Dunk. We have JoshSc2. And in the bottom right, our blue Terran player, he just won a map here, tying up the series, also representing Easy Dunk. It is Chuckdoodle. Both players not doing anything too cheesy to start off the series. Both players tied 1-1 here. It looks like Chuck is going to be opting to go for a Rax first game, same as JoshSc2 here, as both players are not going to be opting for anything aggressive, but rather something more economical this game. The build is slightly faster going in for Chuckdoodle here, as everything is just a second earlier here. Chuck will be sending out a 17 SCV scout, as Josh will not be SCV scouting. It looks like the first place Chuck does intend to scout is the exact opposite of where Josh will be spawning. However, Josh will be sending a scout of his own. Josh will be winning the RNG Fiesta of scouting, as he is going to right away scout the bottom side of the map. Chuckdoodle's going to right away see that there is no base here in the bottom left, but he will be seeing a fast SCV coming out from Josh, and this should hint to him where Josh's location is. Chuck does see the SCV of Josh here, and he is going to start a CC. Will Chuck change the trajectory of his own SCV? It doesn't look like it. We are going to be seeing a CC from both players now. As Chuck moves to take his depot, so does Josh. Chuck still not changing the trajectory of his SCV. He's going to be sending out a Reaper, and both players following it up with a Marine here. Chuck leading just slightly in the workers. So he's going to throw down a factory, and Josh throwing down that second gas just before his factory here is going to be a bit behind with his build. Josh actually throwing down a reactor right away, and then his factory. Chuck will be actually fighting and losing to the Reaper of Josh. Josh with a very early lead here. Josh may be able to pick off the first SCV here. Will he get it? Yes, he will. Can he get away with this Reaper? That I do not know. He does grenade pretty easily. Can he get this shot off? Will Chuck clean up this Reaper? Josh very narrowly escaping so far. Will Chuck pull out SCV? The answer? Josh's Reaper gets stuck for a quick second. Josh will be going for another SCV kill here. Will he get it? Yes, he will. Josh already leading with 2 SCV kills at the start, maybe a third. The Marine of Chuckdoodle not reacting just yet. A third SCV does go down before the Reaper. Still not killed here. Josh, he's going to be getting a 4th SCV here, and 5 units actually killed here. The Reaper and 4 SCVs. as Josh escapes with the Reaper here. Chuckdoodle significantly behind here, as Josh is now going to be making 2 Marines and a Hellion here, and moving out with his units. Chuck in a little bit of trouble here. Is slightly behind, but Josh, it doesn't look like he macroed correctly behind this. However, he still is in a lead. And Chuck, he is going to try and kill this Reaper with his first Hellion. Very intelligent grenade placement here from Josh, as he's going to ward away the Hellion. The units of Josh placed very smartly. They are going to deny this Hellion. And will Chuck get away with this? No, he will not. Scout is denied for Chuckdoodle, as Josh is in a significantly stronger position here. Chuck will be opening Raven here, as Josh will also be looking to make a Raven of his own. Josh, with a significantly faster 3rd command center being placed at 415, is going to have the economic lead this game. And will we be seeing a 3rd CC coming from Chuckdoodle? Raven openings from both players. Josh with the faster 3rd gas. 3rd command center finally comes down for Chuckdoodle. And a Cyclone coming out from Josh. Chuck will scan and actually see this 3rd command center. Josh with a 1 worker lead right now. He is going to start the faster 2 barracks here, as he goes to transition off of just 1 Raven. Chuck, on the other hand, will he be doing 1 Raven? Yes, he will, as he is going to transfer his barracks onto the tech lab and have his starport make a new reactor. Josh, on the other hand, is going to do the same thing. Both players gearing up for a fast 3 racks game here. The stim pack is started first for Chuckdoodle. Stim a little bit late for Josh, however, he will have the faster double eBay here. And the faster 2 rack. Stim finally started. Chuck only now starting his double eBays and his double gas here. 4th gas for Josh is almost done here. Chuck will throw down a 2nd scan here, and I don't know how much I like that. Chuck is already behind economically. He can't be throwing away scans this ludicrously, as Josh is going to be throwing his barracks onto the open add-ons on these open reactors and make a 2nd reactor for the starport. Likewise, Chuck is going to be doing the same, as 1-1 has not been started for either player yet. We do see the 1-1 is going to be started first by JoshSc2, followed up by a 1-1 from Chuck soon. Chuck not yet starting that 1-1. He will be taking his 3rd command center, as will Josh. Josh has landed first. We finally see the 1-1 of Chuckdoodle started. More Marines coming in from both players. Chuck will start an extra 2 barracks here, as Josh still hasn't started his 4th and 5th barracks, but he will be mining from his 3rd first. Josh with the spotter Marine checking the 3rd base here of Chuck. He is going to have it check the other 3rd location. Josh also controlling the sensor tower here. Extra 2 barracks, significantly faster for Chuck than they are for Josh. Josh needs to get on that quick. Josh is going to find another worker kill with this Marine here, as well as scout the 3rd base. First 2 medevacs will be coming out here for Chuckdoodle. Looking at the unit count, we can see that Josh is leading with a few Marines here, but Chuck doesn't really have anything going for him right now. He does have a few more tech units in the Cyclone and the Hellion, as well as a faster combat shield and faster 2 racks here than Josh, as well as the faster sim. Both players are going to be moving out here. Josh, with an amazing scan here, is going to know exactly where Chuck's army is. A preemptive siege here from Josh, as he kills the first tank of Chuck, and Josh, with an amazing concave, completely sweeps this army with a decisive Seeker missile. Josh with a significant lead here as he takes 20 supply up. Chuck is in a bit of trouble here. He only has a few Marines here and not enough tanks to hold this. Josh, will he be able to close the game out here? Chuck's +1/+1 and combat shields are only just now finishing. However, Josh only has the 1-1. We do, however, see a single medevac drop entering the main base of Josh over here, as Chuck is going to drop on top of the siege tank. And this drop is going to be cleaned up by Josh as Josh gets into the natural, killing the CC, and Chuck is going to be calling GG. Series is 2-1 in favor of Josh. Chuck, with just a few early game mistakes, is going to be taken out on Cactus Valley. We're going to be loading on to map number 4. It is going to be Darkness Sanctuary here. Chuck, he's really got to reevaluate his play if he wants to take away this series. He can't be having a single Reaper kill 4 SCVs the way it did. Alright, we are going to be loading up into game number 4. Both players are ready here. Chuckdoodle with a lot to think about. Josh with a very significant lead here. Can Josh wrap it up, or is this going to go to a game number 5? We're going to be finding out as we load into map number 4, Darkness Sanctuary. Another 4-player map. Josh won't be able to convincingly cheese like he did last time. Alright. Spawning in the bottom right, it is the blue Terran. Down a map right now, it is Chuckdoodle. And spawning in the top left, diagonal from our other player in the top left, it is the pink Terran player. It is JoshSc2. There's a lot to think about going into this series. Both players aren't going to scout each other right away here, but Chuck needs to make something happen here. And on a map like Darkness Sanctuary, there isn't much room to really cheese your opponent, as you have a 1 in 3 chance of guessing where they could spawn. And right now, this is the longest rush distance in the game on this map. Chuck is going to be opting for the gas first strategy, as Josh is going to be taking the Rax first approach. Josh will be sending out a 17 SCV scout as he scouts the bottom left first. Chuck going to be opting for an 18 SCV as he just sticks with gas first. Chuck will be scouting the top right and then following the corner base. No second gas is started from Chuckdoodle yet. Perhaps I was wrong. I think Josh just messed up his opening. I think they both did Rax first. Josh with not enough gas yet to start his Reaper. He is going to be behind Chuckdoodle here. Chuck going to see that there is no CC here. He is going to go to the diagonal base. Josh will reach Chuckdoodle's base first. But right now we have a slight macro lead for Chuckdoodle with that Reaper. However, the SCV will finish the command center first here for Josh. Second depot thrown down from Chuck. Second depot then followed up by Josh. The SCV is going to be killed by JoshSc2 here. Okay, Chuck is going to kill Josh's SCV. As Chuck gets his SCV in here, he is going to see it's a Reaper Fast Expand opening, and he's going to confirm the CC here. Chuck not opting for the bunker just yet. Both players mirroring the same openings from last game, as Chuck is going to have a faster second gas than Josh, as well as a faster factory. Chuck does have the potential to make more happen here, but the question is, what can he do with this slight lead? Those players just playing out their openings here. Starport started for Chuck. What will we make out of this factory first? Will we be seeing a Hellion? Tech lap right away from Chuckdoodle, as Josh will opt for the safety Hellion. Both players skipping their bunker this game, correctly assuming that it is Reaper Fast Expand. Chuck will be starting the third gas faster than JoshSc2 here. Tech lab will be coming down from Josh. And an immediate swap off of this factory. No! A Cyclone first coming out from Chuckdoodle. Into a tech lab on the starport. What will Chuck follow this up with? Still no third gas here from Josh. Josh is going to be making a Cyclone as well as a tech lab on the starport. Josh will be starting a late third gas and another depot here at the natural. Chuck with a slight lead on his units is going to be following up this Raven with the siege tank. If we look at the units here, Chuck does have a slight edge in workers produced at 2, as well as a mule lead right now, and a single worker lead, sorry, a single marine lead, as it's going to be quickly closed. However, Josh does have the safety heli in, but Chuck will have the faster factory and starport units being produced here.
How did Durga kill?
A little bit of oversaturation here on the factory, as Josh will actually be lifting up the factory here to make a reactor, and Josh throwing down a very fast 3rd CC. Both players with relatively even 3rd CC timings. Josh with a fast stim. What's the game plan here from Josh? He isn't going to be making any siege tanks here. Josh is going to be throwing down barracks number 1 and barracks number 2. But what will he be doing with this starport? Josh is going to be making a reactor on this starport. Chuck a little bit slow on these extra barracks, however, he is going to be making a second Raven, unlike Josh. Chuck with 2 Cyclones actually is going to be moving across the map here, and he is going to correctly scan that Josh does not have a siege tank here, and these Cyclones have the potential to get something done. Doubly base started for Josh. Chuck now swapping his barracks and his starport. He's going to be producing 2 Vikings at a time here. The Cyclones of Chuck will be pushed back here. Double medevac soon to be started from Josh as he lifts his 3rd barracks onto the open reactor. Chuck not finding anything with these Cyclones just yet. We finally see +1/+1 coming down from Josh here. Josh is going to have a significantly faster stim here. Will he remember to start combat shields this game? That is a common flaw Josh has always had in his StarCraft 2 career. Chuck, with another scan, will see that stim pack has been finished. Chuck, however, is going to be pushing out with this Marine tank army, followed up by some Vikings and Ravens. Chuck does have the Raven advantage here and the tank advantage, not to mention the air advantage. Let's see what he can get done with this lead, however. He is going to pick off these first 2 units here, and he's going to see the army of Josh. Chuck, what is he going to do? He's going to preemptively siege here, and just barely at the edge of vision, he is going to pick off these extra units of Josh. This first tank is going to go down, as well as several Marines here. Chuck taking a 20 supply lead and throwing down 4 barracks immediately, as well as 2 engineering bays, is going to land his 3rd first. Chuck is now going to slowly push towards the main. He's going to be hit by a siege tank here. Chuck is going to take out the Raven of Josh, as it throws down only 1 auto turret, only to be denied here. Chuck is going to slow push his way into this ramp as he is going to disable the siege tank and pick off this first medevac here. The first siege tank on the high ground here is thrown down and taken out by Josh, as Chuck is going to slowly edge his way forward. 1-1 almost done for Josh, but he decides now is the time to commit, as he is going to catch the army of Josh and take out both siege tanks. Chuck, with a little bit of misplay here, is going to be driven back. Chuck, however, though, he is following it up with more of his units F2'd across the map. He's going to be making more reactors and more Marines as he starts combat shields. Combat shields still not started for Josh here, but he is going to have the armory significantly faster. Chuck not even starting as +1/+1 here. We do have a very big worker lead, however, for the blue Terran player. Chuck, now deciding is the time to retreat, is going to fall back as Josh now takes map initiative to move out. Josh does have the +1/+1 advantage. However, he is behind in workers and army. Chuck needs to reestablish this tank count, but he does have a Liberator here, which is going to be pretty significant in the coming fight. Josh will scan ahead to see the army of Chuck. More Vikings being... Sorry, not Vikings, but medevacs being brought over here to the base of Chuck, as Josh is going to try and get in here. He is going to see this army. Will Chuck react to this? He needs to get those Vikings out of there. Chuck is going to lose almost all the Vikings. Chuck is going to try and take this fight. He has to back up here. Chuck still does have the Liberator, 2 Ravens, and a Viking. He is going to be able to take out this first siege tank relatively free. As Chuck is going to lose most of his air at the cost of all of Josh's Marines. And Chuck is going to clean up this push here. And Josh dropping in supply as he is now down almost 50 supply of Chuckdoodle. Chuckdoodle with this 1-1 almost completed. Combat shields, stim, and everything ready. Chuck is going to be making more Vikings as he pushes across the map with 4 medevacs. Josh not yet able to start his +2/+2. He is on 5-2-1 production here. Chuck a little bit late on his other 4th base. He is starting it now, as well as the 2nd factory done and 2 more starports. Chuck is going to catch these medevacs out on the map here, and he has a significantly bigger force as +1/+1 is about to finish here. He is going to swallow the army of Josh after disabling the tank. And Josh is going to call GG. And game number 4 will go to Chuckdoodle, and the series is tied. Chuck bringing it to game number 5 as he asks for a break to get some water. I too am also going to be grabbing some water. We're just going to take a quick water break, everyone. We're going to leave this screen open, give me just a little bit, and then we'll resume with map number 5, the final game of this series, Chuckdoodle versus JoshSc2. Alright, and we are back here. We're going to be loading into the final map of this series. It is Odyssey, game number 5. Whoops, wrong server. Game number 5 will be on Odyssey. This is match point for Chuckdoodle versus JoshSc2. The winner of this will move on to the semifinals. We're going to quickly ask both players. Are you ready? Chuckdoodle is ready. JoshSc2, is he ready? Josh is ready also. We're going to be moving on to game number 5 on Odyssey.
I was expecting more.
In this epic TBT.
What I was like hoping.
Loading into Odyssey, spawning in the bottom right, tied with our other player, the blue Terran player also from Easy Dunk. It is Chuckdoodle. Spawning in the top left, the pink Terran player, the leader of Easy Dunk. It is JoshSc2, and Josh right away in this series is sending out a worker. Chuck, will he be ready for this? Last time we saw Josh do this strategy, it was a double racks Marauder. This time Josh, based on where he's moving his units, doesn't appear to be playing Proxy Marauder, but instead perhaps 3 racks Reaper, as Josh is going to send out 2 workers so far. Will we be seeing the 3rd worker move out? Yes, we will. This is going to be a 3 racks Reaper build from Chuck, as Chuck does open gas first. Chuck should have an easier time against 3 racks Reaper than he would against 2 racks. Or 2 racks Marauder. Chuck will be going double gas with a 17 SCV scout, a very uncanny and very fast SCV scout for his build. Chuck will see very quickly that it is going to be a proxy. Chuck, he has to have that star sense feeling that Josh is going to be up to something, as Josh is going to drop 3 barracks right away here. And I have a little bit of concern here. While there is room for the Reapers to get by, I'm worried one Reaper may get stuck between these 2 barracks here. We'll have to wait and see here. Chuck is going to be entering the main base. He's going to see that there is no building here, and he's going to check right away to see if there's any barracks in his main base. So far, the answer is no, but Chuck will be throwing down the factory in the back here. Chuck needs to get a bunker going down fast if he is going to hold this. Chuck right away going to make his second depot. Will we see a bunker being thrown down? Chuck will see the second gas here and a lack of SCVs, but he won't be throwing down a bunker just yet. 2 Reapers are about to pop out for Josh. Chuck is going to be following this up with another Reaper here, as he is going to be holding the low ground. Chuck will be bringing another worker here to make a bunker, but it's in the wrong area here. Chuck will see one of the Reapers coming from the top side here, and he will bring his units to fight this Reaper off. Chuck winning this Reaper battle so far, but a second Reaper is on its way here. Chuck throws down the bunker almost immediately instinctively. He needs to get that Hellion out now. Chuck could possibly throw down a proxy building in the base of Josh, but he needs to pull more than just this. He does have his second Reaper out in time, but he does take a grenade. Chuck, will he kill one of the Reapers here? It's absolutely paramount. He needs to pull more workers than this. He will get the first Reaper here, but there is another one about to join the fray. 2 more about to join. Chuck is in some trouble here. He does lose a Reaper. He needs to pull workers now. Chuck does manage to save that second Reaper. He does have the Hellion out here. Josh not yet getting that Reaper. He does get it now. Chuck, will he be able to hold this? The answer isn't looking good for him so far. Chuck with another Reaper popping out on the wrong side. Chuck will lose the Reaper. And Josh, he takes out the Hellion. And Josh, off the back of another cheese, is going to be running away with this game as Chuck taps out. And oh, so close but not there, is going to be losing to JoshSc2 in this series. Josh will take it 3-2. GG, well played, both of you. Josh, please join the couch for the winner's interview. What a series. What a series. We're going to be joined here soon by Josh for the winner's interview.
And leave the rest.
Welcome, Josh.
Leave the rest for Dad.
Hello.
Josh, how are you feeling eliminating a teammate off of the back of 3 Racks Reaper?
Oh, you hate to see it.
You hate to see
Gotta
it.
say,
How are you feeling though, Josh?
my heart is pounding. The adrenaline is pumping.
Josh, tell me.
That was a crazy series, man.
It was a pretty back and forth series. Tell me, how did this series go? Tell me your planning in this. Let me hear the blueprint, the inner cogs of JoshSc2's mind.
All right, let me lay it on you. So, I looked at the maps yesterday and I thought, you know, Chuck's backer was really good. So I better come up with some sort of plan, because just straight up macroing every time probably won't work out in my favor. So looking at the maps, I noticed that Kairos Junction actually has that nice little gap in the main. So I figured I'd open up with the, you know, the old Marauder in base.
Chuck did actually scout it really early on too.
He did. I was actually quite nervous at the beginning. I was like, oh my god, not like this. But it ended up working out. Game 2 was kind of a disaster for me. I had actually prepped really hard yesterday for this build. I don't know if you recall the infamous Innovation vs. Maru series in GSL Season 1 this year on Eternal Empire, when Innovation did the proxy double BC.
Of course.
But I fucked it up pretty bad. Well, one, I was not expecting Chuck to do that crazy tank drop.
Oh yeah, Chuck
that
really
was
prepared.
awesome.
Yeah.
And then 2, I kept fat fingering because N is right beside B, so I kept making fucking Liberators.
We did notice the Liberators in production tab. I was wondering about that. But then you did lose game 2. Tell us about game 3 on Cactus Valley.
Cactus Valley, shout out to my boy Ezekiel, helped me prepare last night. I figured it's pretty stupid to try and proxy the middle of the map and go for it.
Yeah.
So I better try a couple of macro games. So he helped me play that one out. And we got some practice there, so that was nice. I was able to catch his army, which is massive, and also killing the Reaper early off. That was like
Oh yeah,
a massive bonus.
That was paramount to your gameplay. We actually saw with your impressive Reaper micro firsthand in game number 3 that you were able to pick off 4 SCVs, the Reaper, and out.
Yeah, I was feeling pretty confident after that happened.
Yeah, not to mention you also had a really sick engagement, like you said, with the Raven. Giant Seeker missile as you pounced on the army. And
Yeah,
then-
that engagement couldn't have gone better.
Tell us then, on Darkness Sanctuary, what happened there?
Well, you see, in game 4, game 3, that Seeker missile was not mine. That was Chuck Seekering himself.
I did notice that.
Yeah, so my Raven control is fucking terrible.
That I do know as well.
I don't even know why I make it. I literally just make it in case they go BC against me.
Honestly, I actually do think you pulled out some impressive Reaper micro, or not Reaper, Raven micro on Cactus Valley. That was a sick Seeker missile you had. That really won you that fight, but yeah, tell us what happened next.
No, that wasn't my Seeker. Chuck
wait.
Seekered himself.
Wait, you mean on Cactus Valley?
Yeah, Chuck Seekered himself.
Wait, what?
On Cactus Valley.
That was his?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, my Raven did nothing. It just sat there.
that does change the perspective of the game quite a lot. But then in game number
When I saw the
4,
Seeker, I was just like, oh, God, let's go for it.
I thought that was planned out. I was like, wow, this is really good. But okay, so then
Oh.
tell us, what happened in game number 4 there?
Game number 4, he just kind of got up in my face, and I couldn't land my third, and then I tried to go across the map, and I couldn't really find an opening, and I lost on my Marines like a dumbass. I should have just like pulled back, and instead, I don't know, I tried to dive on the tank, but I misclicked. I think I clicked on the medevac, so they just died without even getting the tank.
Yeah, it was a little bit tragic there. And then tell us, game number 5, the nail-biting conclusion of this series. We saw you went 3 racks Reaper. What caused you to pick this build out of all of them?
Well, like we always talk about how I always do that in-base Marauder build, I figured that one, I got lucky game 1 that he scouted it, and I still ended up taking the game. I didn't think that was going to happen 2 games, especially when he instantly scouts his main after seeing I have no buildings at home.
Yeah.
So, I figured, you know, I got a pretty winning record, Reaper versus him. I gotta go for it because I got dumpstered
Yeah,
on Darkness Sanctuary. So
and it ended up working out pretty great for you. Congratulations
Yeah.
once again on making it
Thank
into the
you, brother.
semifinals. Now, Josh, being one of the only 2 Terrans left in this tournament, how do you think the rest of this is going to go? What are your plans for reaching the finals?
I don't know. I guess I got a lot of thinking to do.
Hmm.
To be honest, I didn't expect to get this far.
How are you?
Are we playing the semifinals tonight or tomorrow?
We will either be playing them tomorrow or next week, based on a couple of scheduling things. I'll let you guys
Okay.
know by tonight, though. Now,
Okay.
Looking at your other match here, you are going to be playing the winner of Cognite versus Bad Manor. Now, tell me, Josh, who would you rather play?
Well, I think Cognite is a lot higher ranked, so I probably would want to play Bad Manor. But you know, they're both Protoss, so anything can happen.
So, if you were, hypothetically, to win this tournament, what are you planning to give yourself as a role?
Well, first I'm just gonna drop out of school and become a pro gamer.
Of course, with that $40, there's a lot you can do. It changes a lot of things for you.
I can practically retire. I mean, it's halfway there to Korea, so.
Yeah.
And then after that, I guess it just have to be, I don't know, my greatest player of all time.
You will be giving
Something
yourself the
along those
greatest
lines.
player of all time role. I see. Very humble, Josh. Thank you for this interview. Good luck in the semifinals. Awesome matches. All right. And ladies and gentlemen, we are going to be cutting the stream short here for now. We will be returning later on in the day around 6 p.m. EST for the remaining 2 matches of Magnath versus Lanzer and Cognite versus Bad Manor. Thank you for tuning in today. My name is Ryu Gozrar. I'll see you next time.